It was Russia, and it was in the 1920s. And there was a Yid called Rabbi Wiesenfeld who gathered together a group of students of Talmidim in order to teach them Torah. It was a dangerous endeavor, but he felt that he had no choice. He had to make sure that the next generation was able to learn Torah. And he gathered them together on a weekly basis, and he gave over Musa, and he gave over Ashkafa and Yiddishkeit in an amazing way. And one particular night, he was sitting around the table with his Talmidim, and he was really giving them a drasha like they never heard before. And they became so emotional that they actually started to cry. And all of a sudden, they heard a noise. Now in Russia in the 1920s, when you hear a noise, it could obviously be the KGB coming to track you down and find you for the Aveira of teaching Torah. And you can imagine what happened. Picture the scene. They all jumped up and they sprang into action, each one heading in a different direction, hiding there, hiding here, wherever they could find. And they waited in silence. And the noise repeated itself. And someone decided to go out to see what was going on. And they realized it was a false alarm. It was a cat. And the cat was scratching outside the house, and that was the noise. And they all breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, we're clear to go. We can continue our learning session. So they get together around the table, and the Rebbe Rabbi Yitzchak said to them, I don't understand something. I have a question for you. Which one affects you more? Physical harm or Yiddishkeit? And they answered, as much as we're into Yiddishkeit and we're into Ruchnius, but physical harm is very dangerous. And he said, it's so interesting because right before the noise, I was giving you a drosh, I was giving you Musa, and you really took it, and you became emotional, and many of you were even crying. And all of a sudden, a threat to your physical lives came about. You heard a noise, maybe it was the KGB. You sprang into action, and you actually did something, and you got up and went somewhere. Why? They said, Rebbe, what do you want from us? If there's a threat to our physical lives, we need to do something. We need to get up. It's not enough just to cry. We have to do something. And he said, that's the lesson. We have to understand that in Yiddishkeit, that's also a physical danger. We just went through a Rosh Hashanah. Many of us became very emotional. Maybe we even cried. It's Shabbos Shuva. This week's Parshas tells us the last of the Tariag of the 613 mitzvahs. Va'atar kisvu lechenes hashira azois, write for yourself a Torah. Explains the Ksav Sofer so beautifully that it's not enough if a person got a Torah from his father, from his grandfather, he got it b'Yerusha, and he inherited the Torah. But every person has to spring into action and get himself the Torah. When we come to Shabbos Shuva, a few days before Yom Kippurim, we want to recharge ourselves, we want to renew that connection to the Torah, that connection to every one of the mitzvahs. And it could be throughout the year. We maybe didn't do the mitzvahs in the correct way, with the right excitement, with the right simcha. We turn to the Rabbeinu Shalom and say, yes, we got emotional over Rosh Hashanah, but we're going to do something about it. And in the coming days, we're going to spring into action and actually do something about it. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Bom, bom, bom.